Now, covering the YNW Melly case. Once again, the trial for Melly's case, for anyone who doesn't know, is in the horizon. Right now, they're in the jury selection stage of the murder trial. The trial has been pushed back I don't know how many times, but it looks like it's proceeding at the moment. I wanted to give my final take on what I think is going to happen, but before that, we got to go over the case one more time. So with that being said, let's talk about it. Now, YNW Melly, a name I think a lot of people are familiar with. YNW Melly is a 22-year-old rapper out of Florida who blew up back in 2018 with the song Murder on My Mind. Some people might recognize him from his music, others might recognize him from this very much controversial case that he's up against. I want to go over the basics of the case once again and give you my final take on what I think is going to happen, so let's start talking. On February 13th, 2019, YNW Melly got arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims in his case were Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as Sack and Juvie. The facts of the case are as follows. On October 26, 2018 at 4:35 a.m., Cortland Henry, friend of YNW Melly who also got arrested for this crime, frantically entered an emergency room requesting assistance for 2 passengers in his Jeep. The passengers were Sack and Juvie. They were both unresponsive at the time and had suffered from multiple gunshot wounds. Anthony Williams, Sack chaser, sustained gunshots to both his torso and head, while Juvie had several gunshot wounds to his back and his head. Shortly after, both Sack chaser and Juvie ended up getting pronounced dead by medical staff at the hospital. Cortland Henry got questioned by the police, and this is what he told them. He had apparently just came from a recording studio in Fort Lauderdale with 2 of the victims when a car pulled up on him as he was driving. Henry stated that he lowered his body in a protective stance to avoid getting shot. Henry also claimed that when he eventually sat right up, he realized that both Sack chaser and Juvie had gotten shot. That's when he decided to go to the nearest hospital alone, and the rest. Now, Cortland Henry did show up to the hospital alone, but he wasn't really alone. He was actually with Melly a couple minutes prior. As far as that, well, Melly had at the time taken off while Cortland was bringing Sack and Juvie to the hospital. The police started investigating this crime immediately, and they found out a couple things. It turns out that Melly was actually in the same Jeep with Sack and Juvie and Cortland Henry. Henry was the one driving, Melly was sitting at the left rear passenger side, Sack chaser was at the right front passenger side, and Juvie was at the right rear side. The car they were in, it was a Jeep, was riddled with bullet holes. And the police, of course, investigated exactly where those bullet holes came from, and that's when they discovered something interesting. The victims were, according to forensic evidence, shot inside the car first, and the holes on the exterior were later discovered to be staged in an effort to misdirect the police's investigation. They also had these cell towers. The cell towers revealed that Melly was in fact in that Jeep with Sack, Juvie, and Cortland. It also showed that Melly passed the location where the actual crime happened, which was not consistent with what Melly and Cortland told the police. The cell phone towers also revealed something else. YNW Melly, only a couple minutes prior to Cortland entering the hospital with Sack and Juvie's bodies, had exited the vehicle and took off. The evidence also revealed that both Melly and Cortland were driving around with the 2 dead bodies before Henry entered the hospital. The police discovered some more evidence that contradicted what they had been told. With the help of canines at the scene of the crime, a total of 8 .40 cal shell casings were discovered on the ground. They also found shards of glass in the proximity of the shell casings. Now, as far as this glass that was discovered, it turns out that the glass was consistent with the right front passenger window side of their vehicle. After an autopsy report for one of the victims, it was discovered that how the bullets actually traveled through the victims' bodies directly contradicted the drive-by shooting narrative they had been told. As it turns out, none of the bullets actually came from the outside. They did, however, come from the inside of the vehicle, specifically from the left rear side of the vehicle where YNW Melly was sitting. YNW Melly's Snapchat account also got a little sneak peek by the feds, and they found some rather interesting messages on there. On November 9, 2018, 14 days after the homicide of Sack and Juvie, Melly was communicating with his girlfriend at the time, and he said a couple things, like, "This nigga saved my life, he coming everywhere with me, cause of them crackers, come grab him, it's my fault, you forgot." Melly also said, "I keep Bortland Witt, cause at the end of the day, he did one of our realest shit in my life." These statements to the cops suggest that Cortland Henry was loyal to Melly, perhaps because he was the one who drove the bodies to the hospital and dealt with law enforcement. I want to read the actual affidavit where they summarize a lot of the things we just talked about, and then after that we'll continue talking. So this is what it says. In summary, the following information supports the finding of probable cause, including but not limited to false statements made by Henry at the hospital, false statements made by witnesses, and involved others to intentionally mislead this investigation. Demons, that is YNW Melly's real name, yes it's Demons, fleeing the area, not cooperating and refusing to give a statement, and the manager of Demons intentionally misleading this investigator, giving false statements, stating that he doesn't know where his client is presently located. It was later discovered that Francois was in communication conversation with Demons and even drove him out to the area after the shooting. It was later determined by cell phone records that Demons and Williams were in a location determined to be the actual crime scene, which is isolated from individuals passing by and potential witnesses to murder. Cell phone evidence indicate that Demons was dropped off prior to Henry arriving at the hospital. The autopsy report shows the wound path for both victims' head wounds was from a left to right direction. Shell casing inside the vehicle matched the casings on the outside of the vehicle. Evidence shows Williams and Thomas were shot inside the vehicle and the rounds came from the left rear passenger side of the vehicle, subsequently occupied by Demons. The crime scene was intentionally staged to appear the vehicle, gray Jeep Compass, was involved in a drive-by shooting. Video evidence shows Henry changed his clothes, but the original shirt worn by Henry had blood stain pattern on it. In an interview with the mother and girlfriend of Demons, both stated that after the shooting, Demons called him via FaceTime and stated that he was a victim of a drive-by shooting and his two friends were killed, thus placing him at the scene at the time of the incident. The mother of Demons' girlfriend also stated when she witnessed the FaceTime call, it appeared Demons was outside and hiding, waiting to be picked up. This is also consistent with cell records of Demons. It should be noted that Demons was in possession of his phone before the incident, during the incident, and after the incident. This was also corroborated by cell phone records obtained in this case. YNW Melly the other day hopped on Twitter and said, "It's about time, y'all can uncross y'all nuts, I'll be home this year." So given what he said, there's been a lot of conversations going on. Is Melly gonna beat it? Personally, if you ask me, highly unlikely. This homicide investigation right here to me seems pretty damn bulletproof. I mean, we're talking forensic evidence, we're talking ballistics, we're talking cell phone towers, we're talking a whole lot of contradicting statements made from both Cortland Henry and Melly. On top of that, we got bullet casings and yeah, I guess I could go on and on. It goes without saying, but it's not looking good for Melly. Hasn't been looking too good as time has went on. I'm wondering how Melly's legal team is gonna argue against this evidence, because everything we've seen so far, it seems rock solid. How can you argue against forensic evidence? I think it'd be a different story if that's all they had, but the prosecutors obviously have a bunch of other connecting dots linking Melly to not only the crime scene, but it points him out as the alleged triggerman, like the fact that the initial lethal shot came from the inside of the vehicle, specifically from the left rear passenger side where Melly was sitting. Also on top of that, the investigation revealed that Henry and Melly exited the vehicle and intentionally shot into the vehicle from the outside to make it seem like it was a drive-by shooting. Also, the fact that Melly didn't show up to the hospital with Cortland Henry when he was with him only minutes before, what's up with that? Also, like I read on the affidavit, in relation to Cortland Henry, the police obtained footage from the hospital where it shows that he had changed clothes. They found this out after they looked at footage from earlier that night when they were at the studio, and Henry was at that time, according to the police, wearing a black shirt. When he showed up to the hospital, he was wearing a black hoodie. They later examined the hoodie, didn't find anything on it. However, the black shirt he was wearing under the hoodie that had blood stains on it, both in the front and in the back. Considering all this alleged evidence they have against him, is Melly really gonna beat it? I think it's a miracle if he does. But yeah, the YNW Melly case is proceeding. I wanted to go over this case one more time because there's gonna be a lot of updates coming in the next couple weeks and possibly months or years, we'll see. I'm obviously going to keep you updated, so if you're not trying to miss any of the updates, make sure you subscribe and like this video. Any thoughts on this Melly case though? After hearing about the evidence they have against Melly once again, do you think he's going to beat it or nah? Definitely let me know in the comment section below and let's have a discussion about this.